And it is time to go ahead and get started. Hey, welcome to All About Aerodynamics presents At The Track Live. I am Coach James. I am the creator and the lead instructor for All About Aerodynamics. What is All About Aerodynamics, you ask? Glad you asked, even if you didn't ask. All About Aerodynamics is a science program where I use Hot Wheels cars to teach kindergarten through 6th grade students about a range of science and physics related topics, including but not limited to aerodynamics, elasticity, elastic energy, force, friction, downforce, drag, lift, kinetic energy, potential energy, Isaac Newton and his 3 laws of motion, the scientific method, and much, much more. After I've taught the students all the science and we've conducted experiments to drive home those concepts, then and only then do I bring in about 400 different Hot Wheels cars for the students to examine and look at, and each student gets to select one Hot Wheels car they think would be fastest in a series of races based on everything they've learned about aerodynamics and physics and all of the different science topics. Then they take their car, they examine their car, they take pictures of their car, they weigh their car, they test the speed of their car, and they take the cars to our track. What? We have a track? Yeah, we have a 1/64 scale quarter-mile drag strip, and the students set up the track and have a tournament, and they race their cars, and they observe how their cars perform. Did their cars perform up to or below their expectations? And if they had the chance, would they make that same choice again or not? So, we learn science, we have fun with Hot Wheels cars. What could be better? If you would like more information about our science program, All About Aerodynamics, you can go to our website, aaerodynamics.com, or you can go to our Instagram account down there. Also, AA Aerodynamics, and all the links are in the bio. You can find a link to our YouTube channel, to parent videos, to more information about how you can either have your child participate in All About Aerodynamics, or how you can bring our science program to your school, or your organization, or your special event. So, this is not All About Aerodynamics. This is All About Aerodynamics presents At The Track Live. So what is At The Track Live? At The Track Live is something that I created because before I can bring those cars to the students for them to use in the classroom, I have to make sure I know which cars I'm bringing in so that I can know which cars I'm bringing back and put them in the right places so that they are easy to find. In order to do that, I have to take pictures, a short video of the cars. I have to enter the information into my own spreadsheet that keeps track of all the cars. And doing that was pretty boring. I would just open up the cars that I had in storage, take a look at them, take the pictures, take the video, catalog the car. And then I decided about a year or more ago that if I created At The Track Live, I could do all of that and involve other Hot Wheels enthusiasts and people who were just curious about what this was all about. So what happens is I go into storage, I pull out about 6 different Hot Wheels cars, I crack those open, take a look at those, we shoot the video, take the picture, weigh the cars, I put the information into the spreadsheet, and once I've done that, then since the track is already set up, we have a little mini tournament, and those 6 cars race, and we find out which car is in fact the fastest and our champion for the day. But wait, there's more. You have the opportunity to participate, which is why it's At The Track Live. It's not just At The Track, it's At The Track Live. And the reason why it's At The Track Live is because if you go to AtTheTrack.live, you will see three options. You will have three links. You have the YouTube stream link, which you don't need because you're already here if you're watching now. You have the Twitch stream link, which you don't need if you're watching on Twitch because you're already here right now. The third link, the third most important link, is the Choose a Car link. And if you click on that, you will be taken to this page. And on this page, you will see every single car that we have in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet. There is a picture, there is a number, all of the cars are there, and we are up to how many cars? We are at 790 cars. There are 790 cars that have been cataloged, listed on this webpage. I am, every week, when I go in and I add more cars and more cars, I'm wondering if this webpage is going to get to a point where it's just, it can't hold any more cars. Is that 900? Is that 1,000? Maybe it's 791. I will find out. But for right now, every single car that is in the All About Aerodynamics at the Track Live fleet is here and listed. So what does that mean for you? That means that if you go to this page, if you go to AtTheTrack.live, select Choose a Car, and then you go to this page, you can look through all of these cars. If you see a car that you think is faster than one of the cars that I introduced today, all you have to do is find that car, take the number of that car, and drop it into the chat. I will pull that car, and then it will be included in our 6-car tournament that we have. So if you think that this one, the Fast Felon, you can click on it right here. You can take a closer look, this Tokyo 2020 edition of the Fast Felon. If you think that car would be faster than any of the cars that I introduced, then all you have to do is take the number of that car. In this case, it is 447, and you can drop it into the chat. I will pull that car, and we will race. And we will have our mini tournament, and our mini tournament will end up with a winner, today's tournament champion. That tournament champion, what do they get? What is their reward? Their reward is that they get to go up against our fastest in fleet car. What is our fastest in fleet car? Well, our fastest in fleet car is the car that has won the tournament. So we have a tournament winner, then that tournament winner goes up against our fastest in fleet car. The car that wins that race becomes the fastest in fleet car. So then next week when we have the tournament, whichever car wins the mini tournament faces the fastest in fleet car. Our current fastest in fleet car is this one. It is the Gazella R. It is probably, I need to do the count, but we're probably about 5 or so weeks into the Gazella being our fastest in fleet car, and it is extremely fast. Hey, Roughshod, what's up? Roughshod just mentioned in the chat, yeah, that Gazella is so fast. It's probably, not probably, it's the fastest Hot Wheels car that I've seen on our track in some time. And the races it's had, it has not had really any level of competition since it defeated the Blitz Speeder. There's been 1 or 2 races, I believe, that it was a little close, but for the most part, we have our 6-car tournament, and we get a car in there that looks pretty fast. And then we think, okay, this might be a good competitive matchup, and then it turns out we match it up against the Gazella, and it is no competition whatsoever. I mean, the Gazella is just an extremely fast car, but odds are, I like to say, I was saying this with the Blitz Speeder, I was saying it with the Draftnator, and now I'm saying it with the Gazella. Odds are that there is a car in the fleet that is faster than the Gazella. I mean, we have 790 cars to choose from. So I would presume that there are, of those 789 other cars, there's got to be one that is faster than the Gazella, or can at least give it a good competitive race. Or there is also the possibility that we found the fastest Hot Wheels car ever. I don't know. I don't know. That's a big claim because there's so many Hot Wheels cars. But of the ones we have, so far, the Gazella has beaten them all. And if you want to select a car to go up against the Gazella, potentially, all you have to do is go to AtTheTrack.live, select that choose a car link, and it will take you back to this page where you just have to scroll through and put in whichever car it is that you would like to choose. And you take the number of the car, drop it into the chat, and this will look something like this. So okay, so Roughshod's making his pick. 119, the Shredster can win. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the Shredster, number 119. And okay, here we go. The Shredster. This looks like one of those 90s Hot Wheels, but it definitely has a unique aerodynamic profile. So I can tell it seems narrow, at least that green part does. I'll be interested to see how wide it actually is, because narrow cars tend to have sort of hit and miss reputation and experiences on our track. Sometimes they bounce around, but if they can stay straight, then they're pretty then there isn't much of a problem. And I know with some of these older cars, there's a lot more metal, so they weigh more, and so that may help it stay the course. Last week we were looking at some slow motion video of the cars coming out of the launcher, and we were able to see from the slow motion view just how much movement and how much happened right at the beginning when the cars get the launch. And the cars that do the best are able to sort of correct themselves after the launch, sort of self-correct, and the launcher shoots them out with so much force. And it's very clear on the slow motion video, and I'm working on a video that I'm going to post on Instagram, hopefully by Monday, that looks at 3 different cars coming out of the launcher. And most of the cars start to wheelie, and some fly into the air, they hit our acrylic cover, they come back down, and then they have to get adjusted back correctly on the track. And can they make it down and complete the race? That's the thing. But it seems that the cars that get the better launch a car gets, and when I say better, I don't just mean faster, like a stable launch, a stable and consistent launch, those are the cars that tend to do the best. And the Gazella is one of those cars that does get consistent launches, but in the video that I shot, the Gazella actually goes up on 3 wheels, with the 4th wheel riding along the edge of the track and the barrier, and then it corrects itself and finishes the race. So getting a consistent launch is important, and part of getting a consistent launch is having a lot of surface area pressed up against the launcher. And wider cars tend not to move around as much when they get a launch. A narrow car will get pushed out, and if it's even off just a little bit, it's going to hit one side of the track. Isaac Newton's third law of motion: for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. When it hits that right side of the track, it's going to bounce across, hit the left side, and then back and forth. That's going to continue to happen. So wider cars tend not to have as much movement when if they in fact do hit one side of the track. They're able to sort of correct more quickly and make it down the track. So let's see. Yeah, so Roughshod mentioned that that Shredster has 2 points of contact, and it's hard to tell sometimes. Well, not sometimes. It's hard to tell, impossible to tell with the still pictures, just what the back end of the car looks like, and that's usually how I make my picks in the store. If I'm looking at a car and I see one that I think, yeah, this might be the car that can compete and do well on the track, I usually look at that back end. So with this one, once I pull the car, we will check. Let me write the number down. That's 119. When I pull the car, we'll put it on the turntable, and we will take a look and see if, in fact, we'll see what the back looks like. And maybe the Shredster, maybe this is it. Maybe it's 90s cars. Maybe those are the ones that are going to get the job done. And I'm just presuming this is a 90s car, but we will take a look once I pull it. So we are going to. So we've got the Shredster. So that's one. And we are going to introduce at least 5 other cars. And starting with, well, first, so a few weeks ago, I mentioned that I had this MST-Suzuka. And then I found one in storage. This one seemed like it was a used car, or it was either one that my son played with when he was younger, or I got it used in loose pack. Because it was kind of rough around the edges, had some looked like rust stains, which is odd, it looked used and beat up. So when I found a new one in storage, I was thinking, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll have a showdown to see which one is faster, and then the one that's faster will get to stay in the fleet. So we lined them up, but it turned out that these little, I don't even know what you call it, but it comes up from the bottom and kind of wraps around the edge of the car. Well, that makes the car just too wide to fit in the launch channel on our track. So we went to go have the race. I put the cars in, backed them up, and then they wouldn't go in because of these little fins. And you can see this on this car, it's silver. On this one, it's blue. So I had the idea, okay, no problem. I will just cut off these parts. I don't usually modify the cars, but the only cases where I have modified the cars is when they need to fit. I need to cut something off in order to make them fit in the launch channel. So these had to come off. So I had the bright idea. I was like, oh, I'll make a little video. And I just grabbed the Dremel and I figured, I'll just cut this right off. Well, as I started to cut, this part is plastic and the Dremel, so it started to have that smell of burning plastic as it was cutting through. And I was so focused on cutting off this panel that I accidentally got a little wild with the Dremel. Let me switch over to this other view and so you can see it a little more plainly what I did. And what I did was cut into the body of the car, but more importantly, I cut into that back tire and pretty much destroyed it. So yeah, I got a little, I was so busy watching the panel, I didn't think to protect the tire. So the wheel got cut and slashed, the plastic burned and melted, and fortunately, if there is some silver lining to this, you can see what I did to the tire, that big gash that I took out of the tire. You can see there. So this car is toast, but again, if there is a silver lining, the silver lining is that I did it to the one that was already kind of damaged instead of the new one. So the new one is the one that is going to be in the fleet. I am just going to, I'm going to cut these off. I will not be using the Dremel. I'll just use some hand tools and just kind of pry them off and get that off. I will protect the wheels. this time, and so by next week, this will be a car that we'll probably test it on the track, but it will be a car available to be chosen. And I still don't know if it's fast or not, but it will be in the fleet. So that's the MST-Suzuka. That's the story of that. Because the idea was we were going to have a showdown race, but since I destroyed this one, there is no showdown race. There's nothing. So the orange car wins by default. Let's see. Yesterday, I was in the grocery store, and there is a store near me that sells Hot Wheels and Matchbox cars. And the Matchbox cars are interesting because they're actually in these boxes. I don't know if this is just something, if this is new, but I've only seen it at that particular grocery store. And so it's different. Yes, it's different. But the problem I have with it is that they only show this view of the car, the one view of the car. So you can't really tell what the car looks like in this packaging. It would be different if on each side they had a different view. So maybe here they have this kind of 3/4 view, and then here they just had a full-on side view. And then maybe on, another side, well, I guess they have to put all this other information. But you just really don't get a sense of what the car looks like in the same way that you do when, if you just have the Hot Wheels car or the typical Matchbox presentation where you can just, you can see all sides of the car and determine if it's something you want. But anyway, it's a different thing, and so they have these stacked up. So I was looking through, and most of them were the same. And it turns I picked this one up. It's called the Push and Puller, and basically it's similar to there's a car that we had a couple of months ago called Flippin' Fast that just came out, where you can flip it over, and basically the front and back sides look almost identical. And so it can go either way, forward or backwards. And this Push and Puller, they basically made both sides of the car look like the front of the car. So which way is it going? But when I was looking in storage, it turns out I already have one of these. And it's in the traditional Matchbox packaging. So I got this. Didn't check it wouldn't have been in the spreadsheet, so I wouldn't have known that I didn't have it already. But anyway, got this, no good, going to the prize bin. And the prize bin is where the cars, if I have duplicate cars, then they go into the prize bin, and then students get to select those if they are displaying good citizenship, or win a game, or win a race or something where there's a prize involved. They can pick a car from the prize bin. But I also saw this one. This is a 66 Dodge Charger. And this is how I found it in the store. Partially open. Well, not partially open, open. And so I checked to make sure there was actually a car in there, that someone hadn't stolen it out. And there's a car in there, but I hadn't opened it. So we're going to find out if there's actually a Dodge Charger in here, or if someone stole the Dodge Charger, put something else in there, and I'm going to get some other Hot Wheels car or Matchbox car that I didn't actually want. I'm thinking if they were going to steal it, why would they go through the trouble of putting because these come with, there's tissue paper in there around the car. Why would they go to the trouble of putting the tissue paper and repackaging this to make it look like something? So I'm hoping the car is in here. This was the only one. I looked through the other boxes and there weren't any more of these. And it's a 66 Dodge Charger. Now, the 69 Dodge Charger is the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard. And I have it's the Dixie Challenger, which was basically a Roger Dodger that Hot Wheels tried to make look like the General Lee. But because I guess they didn't have the license. I think Ertl was the company that had the license to make those, but their cars weren't as good as the Hot Wheels. And then I've even picked up these. I'll show this. This was one I picked up. There's a museum out here, the Peterson Automotive Museum. Let's see if I can switch this over. And they have a gift shop section, and in their gift shop they have all kinds of die-cast cars and models and everything. So this one was one that I picked up. It's obviously a General Lee, but they've scuffed up, like they're not going to have the Confederate flag on the top. That's just not going to happen on newer cars that they make. But it's obviously General Lee. But this one was called the Barn Find edition, and so it looks like it was, found in a barn. But it's a good-looking car, and it's General Lee. And then they also had, and it's got the rubber, the real rider rubber tires. Let me focus this in here. A lot of detail on this one. And you can see kind of like the outline of the numbers on the door. It's got the push bar on the front. And it's a good looking car, but I can't put it on the track. But then they also had this one, which is a cleaned up version. The number on the side is different, and maybe that also helps them get around having to pay any kind of rights fee that might be out there. But again, it's other than no Confederate flag and the number on the side being completely incorrect. Like, you know what it is. And so this is General Lee, and just a lot of detail, a lot of good detail. Well, anyway, the General Lee cars from the Dukes of Hazzard series are 69 Dodge Chargers. This one that I picked up is a 66, and again, because of the thing I just said, they just show this one view, so I can't really tell what the back end of the car looks like. But again, it was only one. They're only $1 and change, so I picked it up, and yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so Roughshot's saying that somebody might have bought it, returned it for a refund, and then swapped out the car. Yeah, people do all kinds of things, and it's weird that they're doing it, because they don't. It's not even with necessarily the more expensive premium cars. Now, I have seen it with those, but to do it with a mainline basic car that's only going to cost you $1.25, it seems like the effort that you're putting into stealing the car, come on, it's just $1. But anyway, so I'm going to open this. I'm going to pull this out, and we're going to find out whether or not I have a 66 Dodge Charger Matchbox car, or whether I've got some other car that I really don't want. So let's go ahead and open this up. And I'm just presuming there's a car in here. I hope they didn't put something else in there, so we'll see. All right, here's the tissue paper. There's one piece of tissue paper, and here is, hey, yep, it is in fact 66 Dodge Charger. And looking at this back end, this is not the ideal back end. They definitely got better at the shape, that back end. I'm not a fan of that back end on the 66. By 69, they'd gotten their act together, and but here it is, and it's a Matchbox car, so I don't expect it to be fast on the track, but it is the first car that opened up. I guess it's a good looking enough car, but oh well. Let's see how much it weighs, because it is going into the fleet, regardless of how I personally feel about it. It weighs in at 33.6 grams. I believe the Gazella is 32 point something. The Gazella is 32.3. And so let's go ahead and take a look at this this Dodge Charger. This is going to be car number 791. The wheels look good. I think it's a good looking car overall. I just don't personally like the back, the shape of the back. The back is the roof line as it comes down. But hey, that's a minor gripe. Let's get this video, get started with our first car of the day. So this is car number 791. And most of the cars, the majority of these cars are Hot Wheels cars. But I'm starting to kind of take a look, especially when I go into stores and they haven't really, there hasn't been any change or update to the existing Hot Wheels stock. Then I've started looking more closely at the Matchbox cars. And while I'm not usually gonna pick one up, if there is one that I think is a little unique, then, or catches my eye, then I'll pick it up and introduce it into the fleet. But the Matchbox cars just have not performed on the track up to the level of the Hot Wheels cars. And I'm looking at the picture on the box, and then looking at this car, and it's accurate. And so I don't want to be too hard on it, but it reminds me of when I was a kid, and even before Nintendo came out, there was Atari, and I had this Atari 2600, and the games, when you would go to buy them, on the box for the game, they'd have this artwork and these pictures of the games, and like if it was basketball, it'd be a guy going up for a dunk and people, teammates running around and jumping up. But then when you actually played the game, it was, because of the graphics technology, it was just block people that nothing had any kind of definition. Everything was basic and made from basic shapes, squares, circles, and rectangles. And you had to basically use your imagination. But the problem was the artwork on the box representing the game looked so much better than the actual game itself. And I say all that just to say that the artwork on this box made me, it made me pick up the car. And then the car didn't quite, like, here, check, get this in focus. It just, I don't know, something about the artwork, it made me pick it up, and I loved it. But then the car, and they didn't misrepresent the car. I just, this line right here, I'm just not a fan of. But hey, either way, the 1966 Dodge Charger is in the fleet. And yeah, those 8-bit man. I was telling my son that he's lucky, because that now kids can play NBA 2K, and if you just pass somebody who doesn't know, if they just pass by at a glance, they'll think somebody just watching an actual just watching an actual game, an NBA game. But there was no mistaking that back on with the Atari 2600. That was rough, but didn't know any better, used our imaginations, and still had fun. Yeah, the orange rims on this car. Yeah, I love orange cars. Get me. I like those rims. But anyway, it's not a bad looking car, and it does have a lot more detail than some of the basic Hot Wheels car. Even has the little charger. Let's see if I can bring it into focus. Right there on the back. Has charger across the back. So it's got details that we'll see, you know, are missing sometimes from the regular Hot Wheels main lines. Let me check the manufacturing year. It's 2021. Add that in. All right, so we have our first car of the day, the 1966 Dodge Charger. Now, after that, oh, well, here's another one that I picked up at the same store. And I figure, why stop with what I've got when I can sort of keep it up? Another Batmobile, yet another Batmobile. This is the Batman and Robin Batmobile. And I think we have one, and I'm going to check the spreadsheet because it is, see, and some of these, I just saw one. We have one that is the Batman Batmobile. I think that's the one that's like a muscle car from this latest Batman series of movies. And then there are quite a few others. We have a Batmobile. We have one called Batmobile, and in parentheses put Batman and Robin. But if it's in parentheses, then that means that I put that in there. We have Batman the Animated Series Batmobile, Batmobile from the 89 movies. We have a Batman Forever Batmobile. We have a Gold Batmobile, a hard-nosed Batmobile, Superman vs. Batman Batmobile, the Batman Batmobile, the Brave and the Bold Batmobile, the 1966 classic TV series Batmobile. So this one is going to go in that group, presuming it's not the same as number 681. So we'll go ahead and check just to make sure, because I really don't want to have duplicate cars, but we got to check. So what is that, 681? Hey Uzi, how are you doing? Glad you're here as we try to find out if we're going to have yet another Batmobile. 681. And anyone can go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, and you can do exactly what I'm doing. You can scroll through and find the car that you want to race. When you find it, take the number, drop it into the chat. I will pull the car, and it will be added to our group. Okay, so this one we have listed as Batmobile, Batman, and Robin, and I think we put that in there because there were two seats, so one for Batman, one for Robin. This one is odd because it's called the Batman and Robin Batmobile, but even on this picture, there's only Batman in there, and I don't know where Robin's supposed to fit into this, but it's different than that one. So I think it's going to make it in. So let's see, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This is going to be our 13th Batmobile. So I think the Batmobiles have surpassed the Lamborghinis in terms of numbers of cars represented in the fleet. But yeah, look at this. There's only Batman. So it says it's from the Batman and Robin movie, which I don't remember which one that is. But there's only Batman right there. I don't know where Robin's supposed. Maybe Robin's in the trunk. I don't know. Either way, this car is going. This car is going into the fleet. So let's go ahead and crack this open and add in Batmobile number 13. All right, let's see what this one weighs. It's and just picking it up, it's kind of unique. So it's 32.5 grams. So it really is basically the same weight as the Gazella R. So that's interesting because it's definitely, it seems bigger, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. Right here, Batmobile, and I'm going to swap out the background, or maybe I'm not, because I actually made, no, I am not. I made some adjustments to the light and can't slide this in there, so let's go back, put this here. Let's see. Alright, we'll get a video of Batmobile number 13, the Batman and Robin Batmobile, and I will drop this in. Roughshod makes the point that the first 450 cars with the black backgrounds have never raced. Yeah, so when I started AtTheTrack.live, I had already had a certain number of cars in the fleet, probably about 400 or so. And like Roughshod said, you can tell when you're looking at that page for the choose a car, when the backgrounds change, noticeably change, that's when AtTheTrack.live started. So all of the cars that have, let me see, just let me enter this information in, Batman and Robin Batmobile. Yeah, so all of the cars that all of the cars up to, like he said, about 450 were cars that I just entered into the fleet and did not race. All of the cars since then have been, and actually let's just go take a look before I shoot the still pictures. And let's go through. So all of these cars, like he said, with the black backgrounds, those were cars that were present that when I was putting this together before AtTheTrack.live. Once we get to about right here where they turn blue. So Roughshod had it exactly right. 451. This is the first group of cars. 451 through 457 are the first group of cars to race with AtTheTrack.live. So what that means is all of these cars from 451 all the way to 792 have raced on the track. So if they were faster, the fastest cars, and could beat the Gazella, then they would be the fastest in fleet because they would have been fast enough. They would have won their races, continued to win, and then ultimately beaten the Gazella. So the point is, if you're going to pick a car, then you might as well pick from the first 450 because those cars have not yet raced on the track necessarily unless someone has picked them. So there's more of a chance to find a car that is faster than the Gazella in that first group of 450 versus 451 through 790. Although there are cars in the 790, so for example, like the Blitz Speeder, if the Gazella gets to 17 weeks as champion, and I'm going to need to actually mark that down so we can kind of keep a tally, then we're going to bring the Blitz Speeder back, and we're going to have the Blitz Speeder get a rematch for the fastest in fleet title. So that is that. Let me go back to the car because I do need to take a still picture, which is what I forgot to do with the Dodge. So I need the still picture because that is what is going to be added into the on the website. Let's get this here. bit. And we've got our Batmobile looking good. And lock in the focus. Boom. All right, we've got the Batmobile. And let's see here. The open cockpit might cause some drag. Yeah, looks like the two wing points might be hitting the block, but they are higher. Yeah, this is, so our, the launching block that pushes the cars out, it has, I don't know, it may not be this tall. This is going to be close. It might be just this tall, in which case these two points here are going to be touching the block, and that's what the block is going to be pushing on, these 2 points up top. And we have noticed that cars with wings that are higher up, higher points of contact, have been doing well. But this one, it's just got such an odd shape. It's definitely, it's more front heavy. When you pick it up, the front end, it feels weighted towards the front, which is unique, because most of the cars, at least for the Hot Wheels cars, are going to be either in the center or the rear is going to be a little heavier, or it's going to be balanced out. But this is definitely interesting. Plus, with the shape of this car, we're going to see just how it does, and I'm hoping that it's not too wide up front to fit into the launcher, but I think it should be okay. And we'll see. But let me get the, I didn't get the still picture of this Dodge Charger. So let me grab that real quick. And we will be ready. Now see, this one is good because you can definitely, from the 3/4 view, you can see, get a sense of the back end of the car. So that's good. All right, and we've got our picture. So that means we've got our second car of the day ready to go. Let me check the year on the Batmobile, 2023. Enter that into the spreadsheet. It's just another data point that I use to keep track of the cars, especially in the case of the Batmobiles when we have so many in the fleet. 13 to be exact. All right, so we have now gotten 2 cars introduced into the fleet, the 66 Matchbox Dodge Charger and the Batman and Robin Batmobile. And then we have roughshod Shredster, which I am going to pull in just a little bit. So we have 3 cars there. We've got 3 more to go. And I pulled a bunch of cars out of storage, but I have to check because I don't know which ones we already have in the fleet. So I pulled out, let's start with this one. This one I like, the Dimachinni Veloce. I don't know. I definitely don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly or what it means, if in fact it is Italian. But do we already have one in here? D-I-M. We do not. Let me check. Diesel Boy, Dix. Nope, we don't. So this one's going in. I like this one. And I like the look of it. I don't know if it's based on a real car or not. It just said, on the back, retro racers, iconic race cars from the past, always competition ready. So maybe it is. Is this a, it may be. I don't know. Either way, it's going in. I like the look of it, and I'm glad I don't already have one in, but I do now. A Dimachinni Veloce. You know what? I think this may be... I'm trying to check. It's got a little trademark mess by the name, but the trademarks are only with regard to these logos on there, Goodyear and some of the others. Let's crack it open and see. anybody wants to look it up, you can tell me. The Dimachinni, again, that's the spelling. Dimachinni Veloce. All right, let's see how much it weighs. First things first, and it is coming in at 33.4 grams. So it is not a heavy car by any means. It's right in the kind of sweet spot for what we like to see in terms of cars that perform well on the track. And this is a good looking car. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. It's got a yeah, there is, it's a like a light blue kind of metallic. There's a metal flake component to the car. They kept it with the red, the white, the blue, with the logos. The number has the yellow background. The red wheels, I like those. Let me go ahead and get the picture really quick. Turn it just a bit like that. And we have got the Dimachinni Veloce. Let's get it to spin here. Oh, wrong way. Here we go. And lock in the focus. And let's take a look and see. The 360 view will find out whether or not this is going to be the car. And I've seen some of these. I know they have different color combinations, but this one I really like. And more importantly, for our purposes today, I'm looking at the back end, and it's got a wing that's coming off. Well, I guess it's more of a huge spoiler than a wing, or maybe it could have been a wing. And it's not, yeah, whatever. The wing, leave it, the wing / giant spoiler in the back comes across, and it is flat. It's got a flat back end, and that's going to press right up against the launcher. It's not at the roof line, but it's close, and that's also been something that's been a plus for a lot of the cars. All right, I got to double check the spelling on this one. Dimachinni Veloce. Dimachinni Veloce. All right. So we have our fourth car technically entered in, and it's just a good looking car. And let's if I pull it up closer, you can kind of get a sense for that. This back end, that's what's going to be pressed right up against the launching block. And this car should have a decent shot at doing well on the track today. So the Dimachinni Veloce. Let's see. I'm just at this point just a little curious, more than a little curious, and I want to know if this is an actual car. Let's see. New window. Dimachinni Veloce. It does not appear. No, it is not. It is just it's a fantasy car that is modeled after an Italian-styled sports car with retro-inspired elements and like a Lancia Stratos, Di Tommaso Pantera, etc., etc. So, okay, even though it's a fantasy car, it's nice. It reminds me of the RT, is it ST? I think it's called the Ravager or something. We have one in the fleet, but it's a fantasy car, but it's modeled after, made to look like a sort of muscle car, an American muscle car. So I like this one, and we will see how it performs on the track. So now we have our Batmobile, we have the '66 Dodge Charger, we have the Dimachinni Veloce, and we have I'm gonna pull Roughshod's Shredster. And if you want to pick a car, you still have time. Just go to AtTheTrack.live, go to the choose a car option, scroll through, and find the car that you want to select, and take that number, drop it in the chat, and I will pull that car. But in the meantime, we are going to continue on. And let's see. So far, so good. I have this McClaren F1 GTR. But I have a feeling that I already have one of these in the fleet, and we are going to check let's see, M's. We have a McLaren 720S, a McLaren 720S Spider, a McLaren P1, a McLaren Senna, a McLaren Solus GT, and that is it. All right, another good-looking car in here, coming straight out of storage. It is, I don't know if this would technically be a Zamac car. I think if it was, it would say. I think it's just got a silver metallic paint job, but it's a nice-looking car, and we are going to take a look at it. The McClaren F1 GTR. All right. And the weight feels a little heavier than the others, but yeah, just a little bit. It's 36.2 grams, which is that's not too big of a difference and a discrepancy. So let's take a look at this one. All right, so this one has basically everything that you want in your supercar, your track car that you're gonna pick. It's got the nice aerodynamic profile. It's got the wings high up at the roof line. The back end is flat. This is a car that could, just without having seen it race on the track, I'm thinking this is the car that could compete, could cause some trouble for the Gazella, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. Let me just enter this in. This is car number 794. This is the McLaren F1 GTR, and we've got some good looking cars today, and I like this metallic silver paint. We've got more of those sort of copper orange wheels with the orange, white, and black paint accents. And then with the headlights, they actually had some design and decals on the headlights, so those look good. And good job, Hot Wheels. Good looking car. And it is now in the fleet. And I am going to take the still picture and get that taken care of. Let's go here. Zoom in. All right. We have this McLaren F1 GTR. Good looking car. And we are set. I mean, it's looking good. Like, we're going to have some good solid races with some cars that, at least on the surface, just through the observational from an observational standpoint, they seem like they should do well on the track. Check the year. Manufacturing 2017. And this is what the students do. They have the science information. They have the sort of anecdotal information that I've given them, and then they make their selection based on everything they know. So what we do know is that cars with a flat back end tend to do well on the track. Cars that have a wing high up at the roof line tend to do well. We know that cars within that weight range of about 32 grams to 36 grams, 35, 36 grams tend to do well. And there's no reason to think that this car shouldn't be competitive. But again, it's all speculation until we hit the track, which we will be doing soon. So if you have a car that you want to select and pick, go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, go to that page, scroll through, find the car that you want to pick, and I will pull it, and we will see if your car can beat out the Dimachinni Veloce, the 66 Dodge Charger, the Batman and Robin Batmobile, or the McClaren F1 GTR. So we have those cars ready and waiting. So far I've been lucky that I've been able to pull out cars that we don't already have in the fleet. Now one that I did pull out, cool looking car, but I'm almost certain we have one of these, a Toyota 2000 GT. I'm pretty sure we had one of these recently, but let me not guess, and let me check just to be sure, because I think the one we had was purple, and it was like an Olympic, had an Olympics theme going to it. Toyota. Yep, Toyota 2000 GT. Already have one, so this one, I like the look of it, and clearly I like the look of it, because this is probably like the third one that I've purchased with a different color scheme. So they know how to get me. Just find the style of car that I like, change the color scheme, and I'll buy one every time. But this one is going into the prize bin. Let's see, what other one did I pull? I pulled out this BMW 507, and I don't know that we have one of these. If we do, it will be news to me. We have a BMW 2002, a BMW i8 Roadster, an M3 G2. That car was pretty fast, that BMW M3 G2. It was our fastest in fleet car for a while. BMW M3 wagon. So no, we don't have a BMW 507, but we do now. This convertible right here. So let's crack this open and take a look. It's got some information on the back. Born 1956 in Bavaria, Germany. Designer BMW. Feel the wind in your hair as you cruise the streets in this V8 powered roadster, which uses its 150 horsepower motor to reach a whopping top speed of 122 miles per hour. Okay. All right, let's crack it open. Take a look. Okay. BMW 507. And let's check the weight. Seems pretty light. But it's actually weighs in at 34.4 grams, so it's a heavier car. It's got, the body is metal, all metal, but it is here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this one, the BMW 507. And another good looking car. These are, I mean, I'm pulling these out of the my storage bin, which is where I put cars. When I pick up new cars, I just put them in the storage bin. And so I keep acting surprised that, wow, this is a good looking car. Well, that's probably the exact reason why I picked it, because it was a good looking car. But I like this one. So this is car number 795. This is the BMW 507. So let me go ahead and take the still picture first. Kind of turn it there. And adjust that. Boom. Alright, we've got our still picture, the BMW. And now just take this quick video. Take a look at this car. Now, it seems to be a narrow car. But I like that the badge detail, the BMW badge on the right at the front. I like that. They put in that little detail. It's just a clean look. Looks like it's got a bit of a paint chip right there above the rear tire, but you know, so be it. But I like this. Now, I wish they'd put a little detail on the tail lights. That would have been a nice touch, but they did not. BMW 507. The back end, that bumper it's got a slight curve to it, but not anything that should prevent it from getting an acceptable launch. And the real question is whether or not this narrow car is going to be able to stay straight on the track. And if it can stay straight, that's great, but can it do it consistently? Because sometimes cars get lucky and get good launches, and other times they fall victim to those launches. They're just not consistent. And if you're not getting consistent launches, you can't get consistent results. So again, I think the wider cars, certain cars, just consistently perform the exact same way every time. And I think the Gazella is definitely one of those cars. So we have the BMW 507. We have the McClaren F1 GTR. We have the Dimachinni Veloce. We have the 66 Dodge Charger. And we have the Batman and Robin Batmobile. And so now, let me check the year on this one. Manufacturing year is 2022. 2022. And we are just about ready to go. I just have to pull Rough Shot's pick, which was car number 119, the Shredster. So I am going to go and do that. And as usual, I don't have any kind of music to put up while I'm searching for the cars. All I have is our tried and true thing I use with the students when we do the online course, is our bathroom break graphic. So I'm going to put that up. It's going to say 5 minutes. It's not going to take me 5 minutes to find this car. I'm going to go and pull the car, and then I'll be back. We'll go over the race rules, and then it'll be time to hit the track. So let me go grab that car, and I'll be right back. flush it. All right, I found the car, and I am going to, it is, the year it was manufactured was 2000, and let's see what it weighs. It's got a very Batmobile-y kind of vibe and look to it. It weighs 43.1 grams. This is a heavy car. This is a heavy car. This is a heavy hitter right here. It is predominantly metal. Let me get it up here so we can take a closer look at Roughshods' pick for the day. And this is a big, bad car. It is 43.3 grams. But like I said, it has a very Batmobile-y feel to it, so I can already see that that's the race we're going to have. It's going to be the Batmobile against this one straight up, right out of the box. It's got a very, like, these channels, these open channels here are going to be very interesting. It's almost like the green part of the car reminds me of one of the cars I already have in the fleet, and then they added some extra gimmicks to the sides and all around it. But the question is, will that help the car, or will it cause it a problem? Now we look in the back, and as Roughshod said, it's pretty much just going to be these two. Well, wait a minute, let's see. We've got, yeah, it's going to be just those 2 points of contact right there. I thought that little part that's hanging down, I thought that might be a factor, this part right here. But no, that's tucked in. So it's just going to be these 2 points here that are touching the launching block. And we're going to see how this car does. But it's very much a Batmobile. This, when you compare it to, let's take a look. This Batmobile, they've got the weird angles, and I can see this race happening, and we're all going to see this race happening, because this is going to be the first one. This is going to be the first one that hits the track. It's going to be the Batmobile versus the Shredster. So we are just about ready to hit the track. We are going to have our races. We are going to find out which of these cars is in fact our champion for the day, and then we are going to see if any of these cars can take out the Gazella R, our fastest in-fleet champion. But if this is your first time watching and all about aerodynamics at the Track Live race, then here is what you are going to see when we hit the track. You are going to see our 3-screen racetrack view, and the cars are going to begin. At the screen on the left, at the top, there is the launcher. I am going to give a countdown, 3, 2, 1, race. The cars are going to come firing out of the launcher. They're going to come from the top to the bottom. They are going to pass out of the bottom of the screen on the left. They are going to show up at the top of the screen in the middle. They are going to come from top to bottom, passing through the center section of our track, and they are going to show up at the top of the screen on the right, which is our finish line view, and the cars are going to come from top to bottom. They are going to cross the finish line, and the winning car will be indicated with a solid red light. A solid red light will indicate the winning car. A flashing red light will indicate the losing car. So solid red light, winning car; flashing red light, losing car. And if by chance one of the cars crashes on the track, then, and only then, we will just take the cars, we will throw out the results, we will restart the race. The cars will race again. If the same car crashes twice consecutively, it is disqualified. And because if a car crashes twice on our track, it usually means there is some problem that is not going to be resolved just by rerunning the race over and over. So the races are best 2 out of 3. The cars will switch lanes after each race, and we will find out if any of these cars is up to the challenge of the Gazella R, and can it be beaten. We are going to find out with this crop of cars. So I'm going to gather up these cars, and I'm going to move this screen right over here. And I am going to head over to the track, and I will see you there in 30 seconds. Okay, just double check the audio and the levels and all that before we get started. 1, 2, yep. All right, we've got audio. We are good to go, and we are gonna see how these cars perform. We've got some interesting matchups, but the matchup that we are going to start off with is going to be roughshod Shredster, which he had no idea, I don't think any of us did, that it was going to be that heavy of a car, against the Batman and Robin Batmobile. So let's get these all set up and lined up and ready to go. We have the Shredster in lane 2 lining up, looking much like some kind of superhero. It could easily be a Batmobile itself. It could be a Batmobile. It looks like a Batmobile design that just didn't make it, but it is ready to go. The Shredster is in lane 2. The Batman and Robin Batmobile is in lane 1. We are going to have race 1 right here. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Woohoo! The Shredster takes it. Took out the Batmobile. We are going to switch lanes, and we are going to see the heavy Shredster. So the Batmobile weighed less, but the Shredster was faster. And I didn't really take a close look at whether or not the Batmobile was how it was moving on the track, but I'm just trying to check to make sure that tripod. We had an issue last week where we had a really tall car, or a car with a tall wing in the back, and that ended up it ended up striking and hitting one of the legs on the tripod for one of the cameras, and it caused a couple of crashes, and so I straightened that out, and we got the races back on track. But let's see here. All right. Okay. Looks good. We have the Shredster now in lane 1. We have the Batman and Robin Batmobile in lane 2. This is race number 2. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Okay. Lane 2 is hot. The Batmobile came back, took the race. We are going to switch it up, and we will see what's going to happen, which car is going to move ahead. And it's also possible that these cars, sometimes they just get bad launches. And like I mentioned with the slow motion video, you really can't tell in real time everything that's happening with these cars when they come out of the launcher. But when the slow motion video, these cars are really, like I said, some of them come all the way off the track. Most of them do a wheelie of some sort. Some pop into the air. They have to get realigned back on the track. And so there's just no guarantee how a car will perform. But again, if it can get consistent launches, then it can usually produce consistent results. And we are now looking at our third race. We are going to find out which of these cars is moving on. So the Shredster is in lane 2, the Batmobile is in lane 1, and we are ready to race. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Oh, that race was so close. And then at the end, the Batmobile, Batman kicked in some extra gear and just beat out the Shredster at the last possible second. It was in the last third of the track. It was in this section right here where the Batmobile made its move and beat out the Shredster, which had the lead for the majority of the race. And then that man pulled something from his utility belt, some thrusters, some boosters, some turbo, something, and crossed that finish line just slightly ahead of the Shredster. But that was a good solid race and a good way to get things kicked off today. So next up, we're going to go with the McClaren GTR against the Dimachinni Veloce, because these cars are somewhat similar in look and appearance. Or they're not similar, but they're close enough that they are going to race each other, and we are going to see how they do. This is we got a fast, hot track, and we're going to put the McClaren is going to be in lane number 1. If I can get it lined up properly. McClaren doesn't want to stay in lane 1, but it's going to end up in lane 1. I guarantee you. All right, the McClaren lined up in lane 1. We've got the Dimachinni Veloce in lane 2. It's ready to go. We're ready to go. Race number 1. McClaren, lane 1, Dimachinni, lane 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Dimachinni takes race number 1 from the McClaren. We will switch lanes, and we will see if the Dimachinni can move on along with the Batman and Robin Batmobile, or if we are going to have a second, third, and decisive race. Let's see here. Get these cars lined up. All right, we've got the McClaren now in lane 2. Man, this is a good-looking car. And in lane 1, we have the Dimachinni Veloce. All right, here we go. This is race number 2. We've got the McClaren in lane 2. We've got the Dimachinni Veloce in lane 1. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. That was another close race, extremely close, but you can tell from the indicator lights on the finish line that the Dimachinni Veloce took the race. And so we have our second car that has moved up. That was a really close race. Some of these races I like to go back and look at the video after the fact, because they are, the cars are moving so quickly that unless it's a blowout, sometimes it's hard for me to tell from my vantage point how well a car did or how close a race truly was. But that one was that Shredster Batmobile, that third race, that was another great race. So let's see if the BMW 507 and the 66 Matchbox Dodge Charger can keep up with the high standards set by those first two series of races. we are going to get these cars lined up. The Matchbox 66 Dodge Charger. So here's one issue, is that the wheels are very narrow. The car is narrow. It's not, well, it's a little narrow, but the wheels are tucked under the body, which I don't like. I like the wheels usually flush with the body, but it is what it is. And so the Dodge Charger is in lane 2. We've got the BMW convertible 507 in lane 1. This is race 1. Let's see what happens. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Whoa! Another close race, and the Dodge takes it. Matchbox representing. Okay, we see you, Matchbox. We know that Matchbox cars have had a hard time on our track. That they've had a hard time finding their way and carving out wins. But it did it that time. At least one win. So, but it takes 2 wins to move on. So we're going to see exactly what happens next. We are going to switch lanes. It is going to be the Dodge Charger in lane 2. I'm sorry, the Dodge Charger is moving over to lane 1. And it is lined up. The back end is flat. Looks good. And the front is lined up. So let's see. We've got the BMW in lane 2. We've got the Dodge Charger in lane 1. And this is race number 2. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Matchbox making a statement. The Dodge Charger takes the race, and so Matchbox moving on to the next round, something that those are words that I don't say very often, but yes, the Matchbox car moving on to the next round looked good. I'm just checking out everything on the track, making sure we're not having any issues where the tripods are impeding the cars. They are not. We are good to go, and we are down to 3 cars. We've got the Batman and Robin Batmobile. We've got the Dimachinni Veloce, and we've got the Dodge Charger. So the Matchbox, we're gonna strike while the Matchbox is hot, and we are going to have the 66 Dodge Charger up against the Dimachinni Veloce, and the Charger is going to go into lane number 2. It's going to back in right up against that launching block with its flat back end, and then we are going to take the Dimachinni with its flat wing, and it's going to be in lane 1. So we've got Dimachinni in lane 1. We've got the 66 Dodge Charger in lane 2. Race 1. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Matchbox still on a heater. All right, so we've got the 66 Dodge Charger, 1 win closer to moving on to the finals. This would be unprecedented territory, but I may be looking ahead. I am looking ahead because there's still much more work to do. We've got to have the cars switch lanes, and we're going to have the Matchbox car switch over to lane number 1. This is the 66 Dodge Charger, which has won its last 3 races. And then we are going to have the Dimachinni Veloce in lane number 2. We are ready to go. Can this Matchbox car make it to the finals? We're going to find out. Here we go. Three, two, one, race. Woo. Okay, well, both cars crashed, so that race those results get thrown out, and we will restart. Pretty unusual for both cars to crash, but hey, either way, it makes it easier. Oh, but it also, they crashed into the thing and shifted the camera, so I gotta move to adjust the tripod. Okay, I don't want anything to impede these cars making it down the track, so we will get them set up again. Not sure exactly what happened, but something went wrong. It's a lot of force they come out with, and as I said, I have a slow motion video that I'm going to be posting, and it really shows how much movement and how many different things are happening with these cars right out of the launcher. Okay, so here we go again. We're set up. Race number 2, we've got the Dodge Charger in lane 1. We've got the Dimachinni Veloce in lane 2. Everything looks good further down the track, and we're ready. Race number 2, here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Woo. Dimachinni, double disrespect. So the Dimachinni won the race. The Charger crashed, flipped up, didn't leave the track, but ended up on the other side of the track. The Dimachinni finished the race, hit the barrier, backed up, reversed, and then crashed into the Charger, which ended up on its side of the track. It kind of reminds me of one of those Roadrunner cartoons where the coyote gets run over and then the car reverses and runs him over again. So now this is pretty much even, because if a car does not leave the track, then we don't throw out the results. Why the Charger kept crashing in lane 1, I don't know. I'd have to check out the slow motion. Just looking at the track, there's nothing wrong. There's no problems with the barriers or anything like that. So we're just going to line the cars up for the third and final race. It's the Matchbox, the Dodge Charger in lane number 2. I can get it in there. Doesn't want to stay put. That happens. So this Dodge Charger, the 66 Dodge Charger, the Matchbox in lane 2. You've got the Dimachinni Veloce, the fantasy Italian sports car, in lane 1. Which car will move on to the finals against the Batmobile? We're about to find out. Here we go. Dimachinni, lane 1. Dodge Charger, lane 2. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Wow. Both cars crashed again. I don't know what's happening. No, I don't know what's happening, but on the other hand, grab the cars. So there's an elastic band that I use in the launcher, and I was doing some tests when I was shooting the slow motion videos earlier this week, and I left the launcher in the ready position for a couple of days. And what happens is the elastic band, if you leave it in the ready position, it's basically stretched out, so it's not going to produce as much force when it's released. So I switched it out this morning. And typically, when I switch out those bands, when you get a fresh band in there, you get much more force. And I think we're seeing the result of that additional force on these cars. So you get faster speeds, but you're also more likely to have these kind of spectacular crashes, because the cars just come out in such a violent way. A fast, violent launch is what we tend to get when we've got these fresh, new elastic bands in the launcher. So we're going to see. Once again, we're going to see if we can get this series completed. It is race number 3. Each car has taken a race, and the car that wins this race is going to move on. So we've got the Dodge Charger in lane 2. We've got the Dimachinni Veloce in lane 1. Let's see if they can stay on the track and finish this race. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. They stayed on the track, they finished the race, and the Matchbox car is moving on to the finals. I don't know that we've had a Matchbox car in the finals since the Bugatti, I think it was the Devo, maybe? It was a while. It's been a long time. So this Matchbox car is trying to make a bit of its own history. All it has to do now is defeat the Batmobile. If it defeats the Batmobile, it will be today's champion. But as we saw, the Dark Knight is not going down easily. And in the matchup against the Shredster, the Batmobile kicked in something right at the end to pull out that victory. It was not looking good for the Caped Crusader, but he ended up coming through. Can he do it again, or will this 66 Dodge Charger make a bit of Matchbox history here on our track? So we have the Batman and Robin Batmobile lined up in lane 1. We have the 66 Dodge Charger in lane 2. This is race 1. This is the finals. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. Oh! Wow, that was pretty spectacular. So the Batmobile went up on like 2 wheels about midway through the track, just after it passed the midpoint. And somehow it corrected itself. Meanwhile, the Charger started to shake and wobble, flipped upside down, and landed on its roof just before the final third of our track. So once again, the problem for the Charger is that when it crashes, it's not leaving the track. If it had left the track, then it would require a restart. But it didn't leave the track. It just went upside down. So it's lost. And it is going to need to take 2 wins in a row from the Batmobile in order to win. Now the question is, if it stays on the track, is it faster? And from the beginning of that race, it looked like the answer to that question was absolutely, because the Charger was out in front. But it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And the Charger finished upside down on its roof, and the Batmobile crossed the finish line. So that's that. Now we're switching lanes. We've got the Batmobile in lane 2, and we've got the Charger in lane 1. Can the Charger take 2 wins from the Batmobile in a row? I don't know. We're going to find out. Here we go. Three, 2, 1, race. And turnabout is fair play. So the Batmobile, this time, the Batmobile crashed, but the Batmobile didn't leave the track. Had the Batmobile left the track, the Batmobile we'd just restart the race. But the Batmobile decided to crash, but stay on the track. The Dodge Charger won the race, hit the barrier, backed up, and stopped basically exactly right beside the Batmobile, almost to back up and look at the Batman and say, yeah, I took this race. Now what? So we are going to a third and final race. The question is, can we have a race where both of these cars actually complete the course and finish the race? We are going to find out. But right now, it is still 1-1. Now, the fact that both of these cars have crashed in lane 2, I would say, let me check things out, but the problem is they haven't crashed at exactly the same point. They've crashed in different ways, so it doesn't suggest that there's a problem with the track. It just suggests what's the more likely answer is that there's a powerful elastic band in this launcher. The cars are flying out, and whichever car can manage to correct itself and stay on the track is the car that is going to have the advantage and get the win. So, we are at race number 3. We've got the Batman and Robin Batmobile in lane 1. We've got the 1966 Matchbox Dodge Charger in lane 2. This is race 3. Let's see what happens. 3, 2, 1, race. Once again, as it did with the Shredster, the Batmobile pulls out the race at the very end, out of lane 1. It was close. The Matchbox Charger gave the Batmobile all it could handle, and Batman just kicked in that extra gear, that extra bit of turbo that it used against the Shredster. It used to take today's matchup, and once again, we have a Batmobile that is standing supreme as our champion of the day. But now the Batmobile is going to face an actual test, a serious test, because the Batmobile has had these wobbly, shaky starts. It has, it's crashed. It has lost races. It has had to pull things out at the very end. And I don't know if that is going to be good enough to beat the Gazella R. The Gazella R is consistent, steady, and fast, and it is in lane 1. The Batmobile is in lane 2. We're going to find out if the Batman can take down the Gazella R. So, Batmobile lane 2, Gazella R lane 1, race 1, here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. The Batmobile did one of its wobbly starts. It got about halfway down the track, started to wobble, went up on 2 wheels, and came back down. That kind of performance was fine against the Dodge Charger because the Charger was doing a similar thing. It would bounce around and have to kind of find its footing and then move down the track. The Gazella R doesn't have those kind of problems. The Gazella R gets itself right out of the gate and then explodes down the track. There's no time for wobbling or moving around or bouncing around or whatever the Batmobile is doing, because all of that is time when the Gazella R is just on the track moving. So you don't have time for this, Batman. You've got to step on the gas out of the gate, get moving, and get the job done. Otherwise, the Gazella R will just mark you down as another victim on the track. So here we go. Race number 2, the Gazella R is now in lane 2. The Batmobile is in lane 1. The Batmobile has got to take 2 races in a row from the Gazella. That's a lot to ask, but we'll see what happens. Here we go. Batmobile lane 1, Gazella R lane 2. This is for the fastest in fleet title. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, race. Look at the Gazella come all the way back to the start gate and hit the start gate with some force. It just goes to show how much force the Gazella, force and speed, the Gazella R is hitting the final barrier width, because it's a memory foam barrier. It goes all the way down, hits that, and then again, Newton's third law of motion, every action is an equal and opposite reaction. It hits it with that force and then springs back and came all the way back to the start, to the launcher, and hit the starting block with a little bit of force. Now, the Batmobile came back about 2/3 of the way, but it just goes to show how fast that Gazella R is. This Batmobile, good try, but these wobbly, shaky starts were not sufficient. So I'm going to gather these cars up, head back in the garage, take a look at the winners and the losers and what is ahead. So I'll be back in the garage in just a few seconds. So the Gazella R remains our fastest in fleet car. It was not really tested, but before we got to the point where the Gazella defended its title, we had some really good races. The Batmobile Shredster, that was a classic race, and I still have to go back and look, because the Batmobile was losing that race. It was definitely losing that race right up until the last third of the track, the last section, that finish line camera view. The Batmobile just pulled ahead, and I don't know why the Shredster, what caused it to slow down. If it was just sort of the natural slowing that happens with the cars as they move over the longer distances, I don't know. But there was definitely the Batmobile kicked in an extra gear. Similarly, when it faced the Dodge Charger, it did the same thing. That was a crazy series, because there were so many. The cars kept crashing, but they wouldn't leave the track. But that final race, the Charger was beating the Batmobile, but then the Batmobile again just kicked in out of lane one, just kicked in that extra gear and moved right on past the Charger. Now, the issue and the thing that happened is that with the Charger and the Batmobile, so I switch over here. With the Charger, stop this, move to Gazella. With the Charger, the wheels, it's got this narrow wheelbase, and I don't really like that. Because the wider the wheelbase is, the more stable the car tends to be on the track. And so with this car, you saw it move around a lot. It moved left and right. It was shaking down the track, but it usually, I think, because it's wide, I think that helped it get a little bit more stable. But it was moving. The Batmobile, on the other hand, was moving like crazy. It was if from my vantage point at the starting line, the Batmobile was it was shaking left and right. It would go up, it would come down, it crashed. But when it could stay on the course, when it could stay upright, it did a decent job. And it may have had something to do with the fact that the front end is so front end heavy that maybe that's what, because the front end seemed to stay straight. It was the back end that was bumping around, and that's not good enough when you're going up against the Gazella R. The Gazella R stays on the track and stays straight, and that is it. So maybe some of these other cars could be faster if they got consistent launches and stayed straight. But they were not doing that, and they did not do that. And ultimately, the same thing happens that has been happening for the past 5 weeks or so. The Gazella R took the race and did not really have significant, serious competition. So we have our fastest in fleet champion remains the Gazella R. And until some car comes along that can beat it, I need to start doing the calculations and finding out when down the road we could be looking at a matchup between the Blitz Speeder and the Gazella, a rematch. This could be, I mean, it is the beginning of the year. We could be essentially on our the Hot Wheels at the Track Live version of the Road to WrestleMania, because we could be looking at that matchup just looking down the road, because to this point the Gazella is not being challenged, and not being challenged seriously enough to think that won't happen at some point. So I'm going to have to do the math and run the numbers and see exactly when it will be that we may end up with the the rematch, the Battle of Champions, the Gazella versus the Blitz Speeder. So that is something far down the road. It's at least going to be 3 months away, because the Gazella would need to get up to 17 title defenses. So I think it's right now at about 5, 6. I have to double check. But anyway, the Gazella R is our fastest in fleet champion. It remains our fastest in fleet champion. It is the fastest Hot Wheels car in the world, and until some other car says otherwise, it will remain so. So that is the Gazella R, and we are looking at another At The Track Live episode in the books. We're up to 795 cars. If you want to go back and see the past champions, some of the past episodes and races, all of those are listed on our YouTube channel. If you go to the live tab, all the episodes are listed. I have gone through and I have added in time markers. So if there's a certain car you want to see, you can click on that and see the review, or you can jump straight to the races and see how the car is performed and what happened, or you can watch the entire episode. It's entirely up to you. We are here every Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, racing Hot Wheels cars and having fun. If you want to follow what's happening with All About Aerodynamics or At The Track Live during the week, you can follow our Instagram account, AA Aerodynamics. I am going to be posting the slow motion breakdown of the launch sequence for 3 different cars. That's going to be coming up. I should have that done this weekend, and it should be ready by Monday. So you can check that out and find out, just keep up with all the things that are happening with All About Aerodynamics and At The Track Live. And yeah, if you decide that you want to participate, just go to AtTheTrack.live, select choose a car, and scroll through all those cars that we have listed. There are well, I don't have to say there are hundreds. There are 790, and I will add in the newer cars pretty soon. But you just go there, and you can scroll through, and you can see all of the cars there. You know what the Gazella R can do. You know what some of the other cars can do. You've seen those perform. And so based on that, you can take a look at the cars, find the car that you think would be faster or at least competitive with the Gazella R, take the number of that car, drop it into the chat next week. I will pull that car just like I did with Roughshod Shredster, and we will take it to the track and we will see if your car can in fact beat out the Gazella R or at least some of the other cars that are introduced. So I've got hundreds of cars to introduce, so we're going to be here every Saturday, and it's a lot of fun just racing these cars and seeing what happens. I can't wait to go back and look at that Shredster Batmobile race to see exactly what happened there at the end, and I'll probably post a clip from that on Instagram. So that is why you should go ahead and follow the account if you are not already. So one more time, at the track live, I am Coach James, and I will be here next week. But until then, I'll see you at the races. See you.